Hey guys, it's Jen. Welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another meal prep video. This week I'm going to be making some cooked chicken breast for salads. I'll be washing my produce, making some blue cheese dressing, some Instant Pot egg bites, but I'll actually be making them in the oven, some chicken curry, some Greek salad, veggies and dip, and possibly some muffins. So the first thing I'm going to get started on is my Instant Pot egg bites. Now, this is the recipe that I use, but I'm actually using my oven to make them on this particular day, which they turn out just fine in the oven. They're a little bit, I don't want to say crispier, but they're a little bit more firm in the oven, which my husband actually likes them better this way. And so I kind of go back and forth between making them in the oven and making them in the Instant Pot. But either way, I will leave a link to the original recipe down below, and you can definitely cook these either way, whatever is more convenient for you. So in a large bowl, I've just added my eggs, my cottage cheese, my cream, and my seasoning. And then I'm going to go ahead and grate up some fresh Gouda cheese. So once I get that all combined in the bowl, you can just either use a regular blender or an immersion blender, or you can even just whisk it up. I've heard that that works well too. And so just get that all combined. Make sure that everything is mixed together. I also like to use a bowl with a spout for this so that I can pour it into the muffin cups. Like I said, today I'm using Gouda cheese and some leftover chopped bacon that I had from breakfast. But I've used a lot of different combinations in these. You can use veggies and cheese. You can use just cheese. You can use bacon, ham, sausage. I've tried every combination and I really like them all. So today I'm just going to go ahead and put some silicone muffin cups into my tin. I will link those in the description box below if you're interested. I just put a couple pieces of bacon in the bottom of each of those, poured the egg mixture over, and then I'm going to put a little bit of extra shredded cheese on the top. And then I had a little bit of extra egg mixture left over. So I'm just going to take a ramekin and make one big egg bite with the leftover egg mixture because I didn't want to waste that. Okay, so I went ahead and put these in the oven. I'm going to bake them at 400 degrees for 15 minutes. And just so you guys are aware, the one in the ramekin took a little bit longer since it was larger. So the next thing I'm going to do is prep some shredded cheese for the week. One of the things I'm going to make this week for dinner is broccoli cheese soup, and I like to make sure I shred my cheese fresh for this. And so that's one of the things that you can definitely prep ahead on the weekend. So I just had a block of 16 ounces of sharp cheddar cheese. I went ahead and cut off about 12 ounces of that, shredded it up, and popped it in a Ziploc bag. So here are my egg bites fresh out of the oven. You can see that they have puffed up a little bit. Those will shrink down as they cool. So I just leave those in the muffin tin until they are cool enough to handle. And then I just pop them out and put them in a glass dish. We like to have these during the week for breakfast. I don't really get tired of them since I make a different variation each week, but I like to take these to work. I just take 2 of them and heat them up in the microwave for about 60 to 90 seconds, and they are a great breakfast. So the next thing that I want to prep is some snack boxes. I really like to make these to have on hand for both my husband and I to take to work, as well as the kids can take them in their lunches if they want to as well. So I just had some beef and turkey sticks in the fridge that I wanted to use. So I went ahead and cut those up into smaller pieces and cut the cheese up into little cubes as well. These containers that I am using right now are by Sistema. I'll try to leave a link to those in the description box below. And then this one is from Easy Lunchbox. I like both of them and I use them all the time to prep snacks like this. So in the one container, I added some cashews and some cheese and meat, and then I'll also be adding some low carb dark chocolate to that. And then in the other box, I also added some tomatoes and salted those with a little bit of kosher salt. Okay, so the next thing that I'm going to prep is some cooked chicken breast. Today I am going to be using the seasoning wraps by Stouffer's. These are a fairly new product, and I actually saw these first on Leanne's channel. Her channel is called Grady's Mom. She is one of my friends here on YouTube, and I will leave a link to her channel down below if you haven't seen it. She posts a ton of great food related content, so if you like my channel, you will definitely love hers. So these are kind of unique. Basically, you just take your thin cut chicken breast and wrap them in the parchment paper that already has seasoning in it, and you cook them for 10 minutes on each side in a dry skillet. Now, these were full of flavor. I thought that they turned out really great. The only thing I would say is that my chicken breasts were a little bit thin, and so I think I actually cooked them for a little bit too long because some of the pieces were a little bit overcooked, but overall they turned out really well, and I will definitely be trying them again. I like to have these on hand in the refrigerator for salads for myself and Adam, and they also make great additions to dinner for the kids if I want to make them a quick like pasta and Alfredo dish. They just work out really well. So we have actually already used those this week, and it is only Wednesday. So the next thing that I'm going to prep is some blue cheese dressing. I had some blue cheese in the refrigerator that I wanted to use, and so Connor was actually helping me here because he was super interested in the food processor. So we just went ahead and put our blue cheese in there, and then we're going to add some apple cider vinegar. This recipe actually came from one of the cooking magazines I get, so I will type it out in the description box below, but it's very simple and it turns out great. So after we added the blue cheese and the apple cider vinegar, we're going to add some sour cream. I also put a little bit of salt in there, and then we'll add some mayonnaise as well. So I'm just going to put that out into a measuring cup and then have Connor help me kind of scoop it out into the food processor. It was funny. He was so intrigued by this. He wanted to definitely push the button and help me blend everything up. So you can see here that he's also trying to help me grind up the pepper in there. And then the last thing that I'm going to add is just a little bit of garlic powder, just to add a little bit of garlic seasoning. The only modification that I made to this recipe was after I processed it all up, it seemed a little bit thick to me. And so I added some heavy cream to it just because I am doing keto right now. But if you like it super thick or you want to use it as a dip, you could definitely leave the cream out, or you could use buttermilk or regular milk. Just play around with the consistency until you get it how you like it. I thought this was pretty perfect. Connor actually tried it, and he said it tasted like ranch and gave it a thumbs up, which was a little surprising to me because you wouldn't think that kids really like blue cheese, but he is definitely not a picky eater and will try just about anything. So I went ahead and put this dressing in a mason jar. That is my favorite way to store homemade dressing. So I will just pop that in the fridge to eat this week. Okay, so now I'm going to be making some chicken curry. Now, I know that this is titled a keto or low carb meal prep, but my family does not always eat keto, and obviously I have 2 kids, so they don't eat keto, but I wanted to make some curry, and one of the modifications that I did to this was for my husband, I went ahead and added some potatoes, but then you'll see me later, I actually took out my portion to have for lunch this week without the potatoes. So this is just a tip. If you are cooking for more than one dietary style, definitely think about how you can modify your dishes so that everyone can eat the same thing. So I know that everyone makes curry a different way, but when I was growing up, I always remember having chicken curry with potatoes. And so that's always just how I make it. And then I just don't eat the potatoes if I'm eating low carb at that point. But also in the curry, I'm going to go ahead and put some red pepper. So I'm just going to chop that up into smallish chunks. And then I also wanted to add some onion as well. So I'm going to go ahead and dice that up. I get a lot of questions about the knife that I use, and I do think that it's super important to have a really great chef's knife if you're going to be cooking a lot. And I cook literally almost every day, and definitely on the weekends I cook a lot. And so a chef's knife is really something that I need in my kitchen. I'll leave a link to the particular one that I have in the description box below, but in addition to the knife, you also might want to look into getting a knife sharpener so that you can keep your knives really sharp. I have to say that my husband sharpens my knives, and so I'm not really sure how he does that, but he likes to keep them nice and sharp for me. So the only other thing that I needed to prep for the curry was some chicken breast. So I went ahead and cubed that up into large cubes. I'm just washing my hands in between here. I'm going to go ahead, salt and pepper that, and add a little bit of garlic powder before I saute it. Also, I just wanted to acknowledge that yes, I do trim the fat off of my chicken breasts, and I know that for people doing keto, that's sometimes something that you're not supposed to do, but honestly, I don't like fat on my chicken breasts, and that's just a personal preference, and I feel like I'm at the point in my life where I can decide whether or not I want to trim my chicken, so that's something that I just decided to do, and I do decide to do on a regular basis. So if you're wondering about that, there's an answer to that question. So these potatoes were cubed up pretty small, so I just had to boil them for about 10 minutes. And then once the chicken was cooked through on one side, I'm going to go ahead and give that a toss. And then I will add my peppers and onions to the skillet and let those cook through until all the chicken is cooked and the vegetables are a little bit soft. So once that is done, I'm going to go ahead and add my curry sauce. You could definitely use your own. I had this bottle of Trader Joe's yellow curry sauce in the pantry that I needed to use up. So I just poured that in the skillet, rinsed out the bottle with a little bit of hot water, poured that in as well. I'm just going to give it a good stir. And then I just let that simmer on low until the chicken and vegetables were really tender. Since I was going to be eating low carb, I wanted to add some broccoli in this for my portion. And so while that was simmering, I just added a few pieces of smaller cut broccoli to the top. And then I went ahead and put the lid back on and let that simmer until the broccoli was tender. Okay, so now that the broccoli is cooked through, I'm just going to go ahead and remove my portion and put it in a glass dish. I will pop that in the refrigerator so I can have it for lunch at work later this week. And then I went ahead and drained the potatoes and put them into the skillet along with the chicken and the sauce. And then I just let this sit for about 20 minutes so that the potatoes could absorb the sauce. And then it was ready for my husband to eat. So I also like to prep all of my produce on the weekends. I personally don't mind chopping up my own produce. I know there are a lot of options out there for pre-chopped produce, but honestly, it's kind of relaxing a little bit to me to chop it all and wash it. I know I'm weird, but that's just what I like to do. So I just bought 2 packages of broccoli this week because one night I was going to make broccoli cheese soup, and the other night we were just going to have it steamed as a side for dinner. So I just went ahead and trimmed off the florets, and then so as not to waste too much of the stalks, I am going to peel some of them and chop them up into chunks and add them to my salad spinner as well. I actually abandoned the peeler about halfway through and just started using my knife. But since I was going to make broccoli soup with some of this, it didn't bother me to have the chunks in there since they were just going to get kind of pureed in with the rest of the soup. I have mentioned this before, but also one of my favorite kitchen tools is my OXO salad spinner. I always leave a link to that in all of my cooking videos. It is one of my most used kitchen tools, and a lot of you guys have messaged me and said that you have purchased one and you love washing your produce now, so that makes me super happy. So anyway, to wash my broccoli, I don't usually use vinegar on this. Sometimes I do when I'm washing other things like berries, but I just went ahead and put this in the strainer. I'm going to add some cold water and let it sit for a little bit, rinse it off, and then it will be good to go. Okay, so in an effort to use less disposable Ziploc bags, I ordered some of these reusable gallon-size bags from Grove Collaborative, and I really like them. So I'm using them this week for both my broccoli and cauliflower. If you guys aren't familiar with Grove, it's basically a company that delivers home items, personal care items, and cleaning items to your house on a monthly basis, and you can pick and choose what you want. You can skip months. I use it all the time, and I buy stuff with my own money. I would not recommend anything to you guys that I don't buy or I wouldn't buy with my own money. So if you're interested in checking that out, I always have a link in my description box, but it's one of the places where I definitely get a lot of neat kitchen tools from. So same thing with the cauliflower. We were going to have this one night for dinner this week, so I went ahead and washed that up and just put it into the refrigerator in one of those reusable bags. I also had an orange bell pepper in the refrigerator that I wanted to get chopped up. One night this week, we were going to be having sausage and peppers that I roast in the oven. And so one of the things that I like to do is just kind of meal prep components of meals. So not necessarily prep the whole meal, but just have the produce all washed up so that it makes it way easier and quicker on the weeknights after I get off work to cook it. Another night this week, we were going to be having asparagus as a side dish for dinner. So this is another thing that you can definitely wash in advance. Just make sure that you dry it really well before you store it in the refrigerator. So I just soaked this in some cold water in my salad spinner and drained it off really well. And then once you get it drained, you can actually just lay out some paper towels, put your asparagus on there, roll it up to make sure that it's nice and dry. And then I just went ahead and pop that in a Ziploc bag, and I will store that in the refrigerator until we are ready to steam it up and eat it for dinner. I am probably actually going to order more of those reusable bags so that I can make an effort to use less disposable bags since I like them so well. So if you guys have been watching my videos for a while, you know that I love to chop up my own lettuce. And this week I got a package of romaine lettuce. So how I like to chop and wash that is just chop it up into small pieces. I go ahead and put that in my salad spinner. I actually bought 3 heads of romaine, but I'm only going to chop 2 up. I usually find that if I pre-chop it, it does get brown a little bit faster than if I leave it whole. So I just kind of wanted to chop what I needed. But how I like to clean my lettuce is put it in the salad spinner. I go ahead and use my juicer to squeeze a lemon in there. And then I soak the lettuce in really cold lemon water for about 10 to 15 minutes. After I soak it, I make sure I drain it really well, and then I spin it dry. And this is the best method I have found to keep your lettuce from browning. The lemon juice kind of gives the lettuce a nice flavor and also helps prevent the lettuce from browning in your refrigerator. I also like to store my lettuce in the Rubbermaid produce keepers, which I find really helps. So I'm just going to go ahead and spin this dry, and then I will put it in my container with a paper towel to absorb any of the excess water. Okay, the next thing that I'm going to prep is some carrots and hummus. I know this is not strictly keto, but my husband eats these, and every once in a while, if I can afford the carbs, I definitely like to have these as a snack as well. And if you watch my What I Eat in a Week videos, you'll definitely get a better sense of how I approach low carb and keto. But what I like to do is just put my hummus into some little dressing cups. I get these on Amazon, and then I go ahead and put some baby carrots in a Ziploc bag and stick the hummus cup in there. And then I just have a quick snack pack to take to work. My husband takes them to work, and if my kids are feeling in the mood for it, they will eat them as well. So the next thing that I was going to prep is a Greek chicken salad to take to work for lunch one day this week. So one thing I would say about pre-prepping salads is that you want to make sure you keep the components of the salad a little bit separate. So you can see here that I'm actually not piling all the ingredients on top of one another. I'm kind of sectioning them out in this plastic dish, and this is from IKEA. I got it a super long time ago, so I'm not even sure if it's still available, but I just went ahead and put some of my lettuce, some crumbled feta cheese. I chopped up some cucumber and put it in there, some tomato, and then I'm also going to add some of that chicken breast that I prepped along with a few Kalamata olives. And then I'll add some fresh ground black pepper to the top. And then I'm also going to add one of these Greek dressing packets that I got from Aldi. So here is the prepped salad. Like I said, keeping all the components of the salad separated in your box like that really makes it stay nice better. And I actually had this for lunch today. It was great and delicious, and I love having salad for lunch. Okay, so the last thing we are going to make is some pumpkin pie cupcakes. I cannot say enough great things about this recipe. I really love it, and I will definitely be making them again. I will leave a link to them in the description box below, but they are actually only about, well, I don't have the oh yes I do. They are only about 3 carbs per mini cupcake, so they're definitely a great option, and they taste exactly like pumpkin pie if you put some Ready Whip on top. So basically you just whisk the dry ingredients together. You put coconut flour, pumpkin pie spice, baking soda, baking powder, and salt, and then in another bowl you're going to whisk your wet ingredients. So this called for some pureed pumpkin, some sweetener, some heavy whipping cream, 1 large egg, and some vanilla. I'm using the Sola sweetener for this, which I believe is erythritol, but you could use any sweetener that you want. If you're keeping these low carb, I would definitely obviously use a low carb sweetener. If you're not staying low carb, you could definitely use sugar if you wanted to. So I'm just going to go ahead and whisk all the wet ingredients together until those are combined, and then I will pour in the dry ingredients and whisk those together. This recipe as written only makes 6 mini cupcakes, or regular size cupcakes, I guess. But if I'm making this again, which I will be, I'm definitely going to double it and make 12 because, like I said, these were so delicious. So I would recommend probably using the silicone cups for these. So I'm just going to go ahead and evenly distribute my batter into each one of those 6 muffin cups. And then you'll bake these in the oven at 350 for about 25 minutes until they are set. And then after they are baked, you'll want to go ahead and let those cool on the counter, put them in the refrigerator. And I actually let them set overnight before I tried one. But the recipe says to let them sit an hour in the refrigerator. And I ended up serving these with some Ready Whip and some cinnamon sprinkled on top, and they were so delicious. Like I said, I will definitely be making them again, and probably for Thanksgiving, because they are a delicious substitute for pumpkin pie. Okay, so here is what I made today. You can see the kids are playing on their iPads at the island. So I shredded up my cheese. I also made my snack boxes with the nuts and low carb Lily's chocolate and the turkey sticks and cheddar cheese. I also made one with some tomatoes for Adam as well. I prepped my Greek chopped salad along with my little dressing packet for lunch for work this week. I also have some of my grilled chicken left over too to use. I washed up my lettuce, and so that is in one of my produce keepers. I also washed up my broccoli for the week and my cauliflower, which are in my reusable plastic bags. I also prepped some carrots and hummus, so those will be great snacks during the week for my husband and I. And then I also washed my asparagus. We actually had that for dinner tonight along with some salmon. It was delicious. My blue cheese dressing I have just stored in a mason jar there. And then also the orange bell pepper that I chopped up. Here are my little muffins cooled and ready to go in the refrigerator. Also my bacon and Gouda egg bites for breakfast this week. There's my chicken curry that I will be taking for lunch one day this week. And I think that is it, guys. So that is everything I got done today on Sunday. I do work full time outside the home. Hi, Murphy. So it is really important for me to get this all done during the week so we can eat healthier and avoid eating out during the work week. So thanks again for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.